golden beaches and a sparkling Mediterranean, plus well over 300 days of sunshine a year, make Cyprus a virtual paradise on which to enjoy an outdoor holiday. To the Cypriot, good food is all important, which is no wonder, considering how generous nature was with the island in bestowing it with such a dazzling variety of seafood, fresh produce, and outstanding wine. Add the magic ingredient, the genuine warmth of Cypriot hospitality, and the dining experience lives long in the memory. A varied and vibrant nightlife with more and more top-class entertainers performing here guarantees that both young and the more mature get their full share of fun. The more serious-minded, though, can get lost in the treasure trove of the island's rich and evident archaeological heritage. With so much to attract one, it's little wonder this small island welcomes over 2 million visitors a year, many of whom return year after year. An ever-increasing number, though, come to explore and honor the Byzantine tradition, to feel the glorious expression of Eastern Christianity. Ever since St. Paul converted the proconsul, and Cyprus became the first Christian part of the Roman Empire, Christianity has formed the backbone of this island and has lived vivid and unspoiled in the heart of its people. United in the celebration of Epiphany, their pride is plain to see, a dignified pride, though, that betrays not a hint of religious arrogance.
And the influence of tolerance taught by the Orthodox Church towards every religion and towards every mentality and towards all races on earth, because being a small population in a small island, our power was always to be open.
The festival symbolizes the revelation of Christ, sanctified by the blessing of the waters, and marks the end of the traditional ban on sailing, the wild winter seas now cleansed and calmed. And for the dedicated who brave the January sea, a special blessing, said to bring good luck for the year, goes to whoever recovers the cross. The beauty of her way of worship, with its mystical emphasis on the resurrection of Christ and the deification of man, rather than the Western concern with the passion of Christ and the sin of man, gives the Orthodox Church a charisma that attracts followers. Thus, it has never had the need for aggressive evangelism.
Cyprus is a holy island, is the island of all saints. If you ask children, 6 years old, can you tell us a little bit about your mountains and the monasteries and the churches? They say to you, of course we can. We learn all about this at school. Ladies and gentlemen, we're stopping at the village Omodos. We're going to see the Church of the Holy Cross first. We enjoy the wine tasting, and then you're coming back to the village square where you have time for a nice coffee. Let's go and see this beautiful church.
Noted historians, as well as the Russian monk Vasilios Barsky, refer to St. Helen's visit to Cyprus in the 4th century, when she gave part of the holy rope and holy rood to the monastery. In reverence, the Holy Cross is covered by a gold and silver-plated cross and placed alongside an icon of the Savior.
Che σκηνή που έδωσαν τον Χριστό δεν υπάρχει που σε κανένα μέρος του κόσμου. Ένα κομμάτι είναι στο όμορφος.
The highest title of a Greek Orthodox religion, of a Greek Orthodox church, is Archbishop. We decorate the throne of the Archbishop with the icon of St. Barnabas, Apostle Barnabas, the father of our church. Ostriches above the oil lamps, what they symbolize, the ostriches, the strong belief of a people. We're all religious people. Nobody can destroy this kind of egg because it's very strong. And nobody can touch our belief. We are strong in our belief.
That very belief is reflected in the diligent care it took to join thousands of pieces of walnut to achieve this effect in the Synod. The throne of the Holy Cross, an appropriate masterpiece. The bell was a gift of the abbot and was the first to ring on the island during the Turkish occupation, an act of defiance that cost him his life.
A lot of sherry. The number, yes, the number one sherry.
I'm sorry, it's for me.
This is what we call grape schnapps. It's made from the skin of a grapes. It's the strongest alcoholic spirit, no sugar.
This is like schnapps, but they call it zivania. Schnapps has only one arm. Zivania has two. Schnapps, Zivania.
Actually, I'll have two. You will have another one, certainly.
Tomorrow then, okay? Thank you very much. So, see you, have a nice time. Thank you very much.
South of the Paphos Range, the Roya Valley has been renowned for centuries for its vineyards. On the crest of Mount Roya, the monastery of Panaya Chrysorouiatissa adds dignity to an idyllic setting. Founded in 1152, it came into being when the hermit Ignatius found an icon of the Virgin Mary 4 centuries after a woman threw it into the sea to save it from the wrath of the iconoclasts. Legend has it that while resting on the way back to his hermitage, an angel appeared and told him to build a monastery there. And versions abound of how it came to be named.
The most correct version comes from the location of the monasteries built. From the mountain this is called Roya, therefore Chrysorouiatissa. The miracle-working icon of the Virgin Mary, according to tradition, is the work of Luke the Evangelist.
The iconostasis and the church itself date from the late 1800s, a Renaissance period for the church who, despite Turkish rule, managed to reform the harsh taxes imposed on it by the Franks. Inheriting a monastery not yet recovered from a devastating fire, he untiringly restored it and added many facilities. His crowning achievement, though, is that he made better use of the monastery's vineyards. Thus, the Vatican-qualified librarian and past director of an icon restoration center became an award-winning viticulturalist, rightly regarded as the father of regional wine. The abbot's mentor and the island's best-known son, Archbishop Machairas, was born only a few miles from the monastery. For his final resting place, though, he chose the throne of the Holy Virgin, with its panorama of his beloved island and Kykkos monastery, where at the tender age of 13, he was admitted as a novice. For close to a millennium, the brotherhood of this sanctuary has helped to preserve the Orthodox consciousness of the people, which at times faced total annihilation as a result of the prolonged periods of oppression by its conquerors, Christian and non-Christian alike. One will never know in what grandeur monks of old would have worshipped, as the serenity of the surrounding forest harbors an inherent enemy, fire. After a number of ravaging infernos, the church was finally constructed out of stone in 1541, 30 years before Turkish rule. Some 200 years later, after another fire, the magnificent iconostasis was made and miraculously survived yet another in 1813. The inspiration of the monastery, St. Luke's icon of the Virgin drawn from life, is its focal point. For centuries, the Kykkos, also known as Panagia Eleusa, or Source of Mercy, has attracted pilgrims from every corner of the globe. Artistically, it revolutionized the way iconographers portrayed the Virgin, a fact emphatically verified by the countless icons in the Orthodox world that are dedicated to the Holy Virgin of Kykkos. Due to the Ottoman ban on bell ringing, the bell tower was added only at the end of the 19th century. The largest bell, which weighs over a ton, was donated to the monastery by Tsar Peter the Great and his wife Catherine. State-of-the-art as it is, the museum is a functional part of the monastery, not merely an exhibit hall. Muted devotional chanting helps to enhance one's receptivity. The piety that inspired the art and the centuries of monastic zeal that have gone into saving these invaluable treasures from the ravages of time, very tangible. Just upstream from the charming village of Kakopetria, nestled in the pine forest, is the remarkable church of Ios Nikolaos tis Stegis, St. Nicholas of the Roof. Being the only surviving Katholikon, a monastery church of an 11th century Byzantine hermitage on the island, UNESCO justifiably inscribed it on its World Heritage List in 1985. Hailed by scholars as a museum of Byzantine painting, it reflects over 600 years of ecclesiastical art, and in that, it is also unique. The village of Meniko houses the Church of St. Kyprianos, celebrated for the apotropaic powers of the holy remains of St. Kyprianos and St. Justine.
Κακόν συναπάντημα, γλωσσοφαγία, ασθενεία κατάρα, μίσος ρίγων πυρετών, από τους δούλους του Θεατού τους πάντων των παρευρισκομένων στην Ιεράν Εκκλησία τάφων της οικογένειας αυτών, επί το όνομα της Αγίας Τριάδος. Αμήν. Διευχών των Αγίων Πατέρων ημών, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός ημών, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς. Αμήν. Η χάρις των Αγίων βοήθεια σας σε κάθε οικογένεια να μου πει τα ονόματα να δέσουμε στην άλλη.
The saint was converted by her when his magic spell failed to enchant Justine to accept an unwanted suitor, and through the grace of God, his remains have the power to ward off all evil spells. Cypriots lead a simple life close to the land, and very few do not have a stake in it. It is the norm rather than the exception for doctors, lawyers, and even bank managers to rush off after a day's work, roll up their sleeves, and tend to their fields. These bare facades, with few openings and flat roofs, are typical of the Ottoman period, which was almost a century away when Leonardo da Vinci visited Lefkara in 1481. Nonetheless, the village was already famous for its Lefkaritika. Its intricacy so impressed him that he bought a cloth with a potamos design to grace the main altar of the Duomo di Milano. Working on the same design, this woman echoes his wise maxim: iron rusts from disuse, stagnant water loses its purity, and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigor of the mind. With ever an attentive eye on the welfare of its industrious people, the clergy lead by example rather than precept. Close by, the Brotherhood of the Machairas monastery work the land and live a strict vegetarian life off the fruits of their labor. The destructive rage of the iconoclasm brought the icon of the Virgin Machairas to Cyprus from Constantinople. Found hundreds of years later by the ascetic saints Neophytos and Ignatius, to whom the Virgin Mary miraculously gave a knife to cut the bushes covering the cave in which it was hidden, thus the name Machairas, which is translated as of the knife. It is inconceivable how a body of educated and cultivated men, as were the iconoclasts, could vent such anger on anything as beautiful and innocent as the icons they had formerly worshipped.
Ήσαν πάντοτε ρεαλιστές οι Κύπροι, εθρήσκευαν σωστά, γι' αυτό αποκρούστηκε η οικονομαχία.
Cypriots have always been realists. They practiced religion correctly and as such repelled iconoclasm. One could say that Cypriots loved the holy icons, which were like books to the illiterate, and protected many of the Byzantine icons and brought them to Cyprus. This became part of the protecting icon collection at the holy monasteries at Kykkos, Machairas, Christianised, Aphrodite, as well as many other Byzantine icons that came from Constantinople and found refuge in Cyprus.
Cyprus stood alone in resisting the mania of iconoclasm and was a veritable safe haven for icons from every corner of the Orthodox world. Saint Neophytos tried to sail from Paphos to join the Desert Fathers, but was imprisoned as a fugitive until some caring Paphians got him released. He took this as a God-given sign not to leave. With nowhere in mind, he wandered toward the highlands and found a deserted spot on a mountain with a steep cliff. A closer look revealed a small cave, and he knew this was the desert the Lord intended.
And now we are approaching the entrance of the Enclystra, the 12th century dwelling place of St. Neophytos. And we are facing directly the founders of monastic life, beginning behind me, St. Anthony of Egypt, and the other founders in the deserts of Egypt and the desert of the Valley of Jordan. In St. Anthony's scroll, we read the famous expression of his found in the book of the sayings of the Desert Fathers about his vision he had in the desert about the laying of the traps of demons and how to overcome them. And the whole process continues as a slow way of initiation into spiritual warfare. And the process, the pedagogical process initiated into the Enclystra reaches in a somewhat peak, a culmination point, with the two naked hermits here, Saint Onufrius and Saint Macarius, who experimented in their own way, in their own time, how to become friends with God. And they experimented living the life of marginal beasts, almost naked for many years. And in order to accentuate this feeling, we have long nails and hairs of beasts on their bodies. In contrast to these two hermits, we face opposite Saint Constantine and his mother Helen, the first Roman Christian emperor who, while enjoying political power, wealth and success, social confirmation, he didn't go astray, and they even succeeded holiness, that is to become friends with God. What we have here is again a repetition of the same suggestion that living our lives between the two extremes, we can, in our own time and experience, achieve the goal to become friends with God.
In 60 years of hermitage, St. Neophytos' literary output was immense, and considered as vital as the works of the fathers of the Church. As St. Barnabas is rightly honored as the father of our Church, St. Neophytos must surely bear the honor of being its godfather.
Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me.
And the social influence of Orthodox faith is real in the heart of the people, because the institution of the Church was always working for the people. The bishops never came from a ruling class whatsoever. They were the product of the people. And that didn't create any sort of gap between people and any kind of ruling class from which bishops should come from. We lack this experience of the Occidental Christianity.
Οι Κύπροι πάντοτε ήσαν θρησκευόμενος λαός.
Cypriots have always been a religious people. If we look back, we see them developing their devotion with the goddess Aphrodite, even building a very big holy temple in her name. So as soon as the religion of love presented itself, it was impossible for Cypriots not to accept it, to reason with it and live it.
Δεν είναι το δυνατό, μόλις παρουσιάστηκε.
Πατέρων ημών, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς. Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός ημών, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς. Καλημέρα σας, χρόνια πολλά, βοήθειά μας ο Άγιος Νεόφυτος.
Before